What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Red Movie Podcast, the podcast where everything is connected. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson, and joining me is my co-host, friend, and the person most likely to meet a person in a dark garage named Deep Throat, Alex Perkins. Perk, how you doing tonight?
Wow. Going for the throat with that one.
Mm-hmm. You got me. You got me, and I got you.
All right.
Like I don't know what you do in your free time, but I imagine it involves parking garages.
Yeah, just poorly lit places. This is where I hang out.
Yeah,
in general.
There you go. Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the podcast where every week Perk and I review a movie connected to the last one we watched. If you like our show, we post pretty much every Friday on podcast services and YouTube. You can also follow us on TikTok there, and share the show, tell your friends about it, and come watch the movies with us. Last time we watched Murder on the Orient Express, the 1974 version, and we're following Martin Balsam, who he played the director of the train in that movie, and this one he plays one of the higher ups in the newspaper in All the President's Men. Perk, why don't you intro it for us?
Yeah. So All the President's Men is a 1976 joint directed by Alan J. Pakula, starring Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford as Woodward and Bernstein.
Woodstein, as they're called.
Woodstein, as they're referred to. And it follows them on their investigative path to uncovering the Watergate scandal. And it's, like a newsroom type drama.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. Sorry
to whoa, Perk.
Spoil my opinion.
Well, there we go.
I do have some fun facts.
Yeah, give me the fun facts on this one. I did peek because I was like, I'm sure there's gonna be some good acting fun facts in here.
Yeah, because of the actors involved. There's a scene where Robert Redford is talking with on the phone with two different guys, but one of them is Kenneth
Dahl,
whomever.
Right?
Yeah, Kenneth Dahlberg from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And that take is like 6 minutes, uninterrupted, one take.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the take, Redford calls Dahlberg the wrong name for the guy on the other line, and then apologizes because he, stayed in character. It made it into the film, and it's cool.
It totally works, yeah.
It feels real because he's balancing someone on the other line. I get it for sure. The security guard at the beginning of the movie who notices that the door was taped open was the security guard who noticed that in the actual scandal.
That's cool.
They cast that guy. It's funny because a few days after he reported that about the break-in, he was just fired without cause. And his day on set was the first time he'd had work since that incident.
Dang. That is
so
brutal.
The blackballing goes deep.
Yeah.
And yeah, for acting, I just glanced, and Hoffman and Redford memorized each other's lines so that they would know better when to interrupt, like in character.
Yeah. Yeah, which works tremendously well.
It really does.
And just, well, let me set the stage first, but I'm gonna hop in
here.
Please
do.
So going in this movie, I was not super excited about it because, I don't know, it's not really a period piece, but I just don't like historical stuff that much. I just don't care about history that much. It's just not my personal tastes. And I was like, Watergate. I don't know too much about Watergate. Like, if somebody asked me on the street, like, what was Watergate scandal? I'm like, I don't know. There's some tapes or something. I was just like, I'm sure this will be good, but it's probably not going to be for me, right? Then I watched this movie, Perk, and it fucking slaps. This is a great fucking movie, man.
So good, dude.
Like, oh my God. Like, the way they just draw you in, and, obviously the acting is, top tier, like we were just mentioning, them interrupting each other and, flubbing lines, felt way more realistic, and they saw, actual people that are just, stressed out and trying to do their jobs, But I think beyond that, I just loved the directing in this movie. I love how long we sit in moments or in scenarios, or if they have to go to their boss's office, we see them walk or run all the way there. We really sit in this environment with these people, and that just really heightened how realistic it felt. And I don't know, I feel like in a lot of movies I would complain about cut the scene, why are you still in the scene? But in this one, it really just added, and I think the director just absolutely knocked it out of the park with this movie. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I thought this was fantastic. for whatever reason, when I sat down to watch it, I was like in a good mood for it, which helps. But this movie was so gripping, and it reminded me what I love so much about these like political or newsroom type dramas.
Yeah.
Like it really is just people typing or pushing papers, but it's so tense.
Making phone calls, yeah.
Yeah, and the way that it's handled in the movie, you're right. Like the actors are given a lot of room to breathe, a lot of room to work, and some of the stuff they're pulling off is like incredible to even think that someone could do that in real life, let alone replicate it as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I agree with you. I think you mentioned the directing stood out, and I agree. There were it's weird to say that I like noticed something and that made it more interesting to me, because the fact that I noticed it means that it wasn't like flawless. But when you think of the time, in several scenes they did almost like a depth of focus trick.
Yeah, it was the split diopter, I think it's called.
Yeah, where they had the like focus on the TV and then also focus in the background.
Yeah.
In the one it was focused on, I think Redford was making calls.
They used it a couple times, One time, it's when there's the Dahlberg phone call we mentioned.
Yes.
And everyone in the background's like watching the TV.
Like watching TV.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which they don't even like touch on what they were watching, because that's just like something that would happen.
Yeah. And just to quickly mention, we saw this effect in Mission Impossible 1, and it was way more jarring, so it was kind of also a Dutch angle, and it was more close up. And this one I like didn't notice it at first, and then you realize like, oh yeah, these are both in focus, and it's like trying to show these two things. And
it is funny because like the scenes are given so much time to breathe. Like the shots are so long that like I'm just kind of piecing it apart, like picking at it like as I watch it, and you see the TV and it's in focus, and you see the people in the background and they're in focus, and it's that's not how film works. That's not how cameras work. What's going on here?
It's not how eyes work.
Yeah, you can see the fuzz like in the middle where they've stitched it together, but I just think it's so cool. It's almost like seeing how the sausage is made.
Yeah, that's the final shot of the movie too. I think is them in the background just going at it, and it's
by far the best shot of the movie for me.
Yeah,
because it's like on TV with like Nixon coverage, and I think that's still when Nixon's like in a positive light, right?
Yeah, that was him getting sworn in. Yeah, the final shot.
Yes, and then it zooms past the TV, and this whole incredibly long shot, it finishes on just zooming in on the two of them typing. So good. Yeah. I love that shot.
Well, yeah, that, and then we get the boom headline, and it's like they fucking got him, and it's like, because at first I'm like, this movie's gonna end here, like they don't even show them like actually, but it's like it works because you saw like what this takes and like the path they're on, and now it's like there's fucking, they're not gonna stop, and they just knock it out, and it's so satisfying seeing each headline, and you see the 5 names that they were going after and all that, and it's great.
Yeah, the way they piece the story together, the way they like knock off like getting confirmations on.
I loved all the confirmation scenes. It's like, we need all the confirmation. It's like, God fucking damn. It's like, it just shows like they took this seriously, but this is not like shoddy journalism. Like this was real shit they had to do the right way.
Yes.
Yeah, it was also cool just seeing the technology of the time. Like this wasn't that long ago, but it's like, and it's just funny to me now. It's like they're just calling people. They're just cold calling people, and people are answering questions. I'm like, this would not fly today, man.
No, it was so crazy to think, like, because back in those times, you just call someone and ask them something. Like, you just get their phone number because it's listed. Whereas, like, today, I feel like a lot of times you can't even let someone know that you're investigating them, or they'll clamp down immediately and they'll shred everything. And
yeah, exactly.
So if you're trying to poke around an issue, you have to be very, like, light of foot. Because if someone even knows that there's an investigation going on, everything will just burn. Yeah.
Also, it's probably mostly email today, which like is way less exciting than these phone calls, which are just like, I can't believe they made all these phone calls like so riveting. Like I was just locked in on these phones, and he's like,
it's an action scene of someone just on a phone.
And I think it's because you see him dial every single number. Like I don't know, that just heightens it so much for me. Talking about the directing, like the space they're given. It's like, we're not gonna cut to him already on the phone. It's like, no. I look at the number, 9-10 digits, get on, like. I should be mad at that. I should say it's like boring or poorly paced, but it's not. Like it hooks you, and it's incredible, like party trick.
On the topic of the technology, I thought that the way that the movie opens with and closes with like a shot through a typewriter through the hammer or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but
I think hammer is right.
I thought it was super effective.
Yeah.
And because first of all, it's very jarring when it starts because it's
loud.
It's in your face, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, I know what we're getting into, and the closure there too, where you just like see it typed. I just think it was a very effective way to frame the intro and the conclusion. I think because we talked about in Murder on the Orient Express where it starts off with like a lot of newspaper clippings and it kind of goes on for a really long time. I thought that was cool at the time, and now I'm like, no, that was actually bad. This is what it could have been.
This was better.
This was better.
Yeah, actually, I read in the trivia that for the opening shot, the hammer sound was layered with gunshots and like whip sounds
to that's so cool.
Make it more impactful. And then the final typewriter is layered in with 21 gun salute that was on the TV. Which is like, it's just great. And it adds like so much more impact to it. One other thing I read in the trivia is Deep Throat was the number 2 at the FBI. He came forward later and like said who he was. Cause I was like, who is this guy? How does he know this stuff? Can we trust him? But no, he was there. He was on the inside. And he knew what was going on. But even those scenes that were so like well shot of, I think the third time he goes to meet him, there's a shot of just like the parking garage and Redford comes out of shadow.
Yes.
And then back into shadow. It's like, it's so cool. Like we've seen that shot before, but it's awesome. And then,
it is so cool.
Yeah, how Deep Throat was framed with just his eyes. Like you really couldn't get a good look at him. And I was wondering, like, is this where the term Deep Throat originated? That seems like it's kind of like a term now. It's like, like a whistleblower can be called like a Deep Throat, and also like Follow the Money. I'm like, is this where Follow the Money started?
So yeah, that was another trivia fact. Follow the Money actually started from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an invention of the movie, but now that's a pretty popular phrase that just kind of worked its way into the lexicon. Yeah. But yes, he was called Deep Throat. That's where that comes from. Is from Watergate.
That's awesome. But yeah, it's hard. I don't have too much more to say. This is incredible. Like, I mean, we can talk more about the acting. Like Hoffman and Redford, how they play off each other is just that. I love how quickly. I was talking about the space and sweep, but also Watergate. We get the typewriter, and then a Watergate instant immediately, right? Where it's get into it, we see it happen, and then we very quickly establish the type of journalist Redford is, and we get the type of journalist Hoffman is, and they play so well together, and you understand why they'd be well working together. And then the dialogue cutting each other off and the flubs. It's beautiful. No,
and the way they coordinate when they're like, oh, we can kind of act like we can trick them into confirming.
Yeah.
Because we'll tell them we already know a Porter. And that's how we'll confirm. And I love the little tricks like that. It's tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
But yeah, their dynamic is flawless. It's so good. You can tell that they really put in a lot of work. Dustin Hoffman, especially, like the physical acting he puts in, like the twitches when he's on coffee, like he almost looks coked up. He probably was coked up. He's a like dictionary definition method actor. Yeah. So like he probably was doing all sorts of stuff to get in character, and it worked. Just so believable.
Yeah.
And yeah, the way that they work back and forth, their like chemistry as a duo is fantastic. And in a movie where so much of it is just watching performance.
Yeah.
Like they did a great job. And it's crazy because I think neither of them got nominated for Best Actor. Probably because how could you nominate one over the other?
Yeah. Yeah.
But there were 2 supporting actor nominations and a win.
Yeah, so it looks like it won 4 Oscars.
Yeah, so Jason Robards, who plays Ben Bradley, won Best Supporting, which I think that's fair.
Yeah, he's great.
I think he was good. And is it Jane Alexander, who plays the bookkeeper? She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Didn't win, but I thought she was fantastic as well. And yeah, the Oscars that won were for Best Supporting Actor, best adapted screenplay, best art direction and set decoration, and best sound. Which
Nice.
I think, and we already were gushing about the sound design and of the stuff they did. So
yeah, well, and it was nominated for best picture, best director, best editing. Like, yeah, this is a powerhouse of a movie right here.
Yeah, I was not as hesitant when you were saying you weren't like necessarily thinking you were going to love it. This is one that I know was going to be good, and I was really looking forward to getting it. It's something that it's not a movie that I ever thought about very often, but it's like you hear someone say, "Oh, the president's spending," you're like, "Oh my god, watch that." It's one of those. So I'm glad we got the chance. I freaking loved it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned in your letterbox review, like, wanted to see more performances from these guys. Like, yeah, I want to see more of them, and definitely Redford. I only know Redford from Captain America: Civil War because he plays the bad guy, and he's really good in it. But I haven't seen him in his prime, and it's like, in this film, like, okay, I want to see more Redford.
I don't think I've really seen too much of him in his prime either. I've seen the old man and the gun, which I think I talked about on here, where he's just like a polite old gentleman that robs banks. And he was great in that, but that's him in the twilight of his career. So I'll definitely be doing a little digging because these guys are fantastic.
Did he run for president, or is that like because in the Watchmen comic, in that alternate universe where Redford becomes president, I don't know if that was based on him actually running or not. I can't remember.
No idea.
Okay, never mind.
Couldn't tell you. That's funny though.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Highly recommended. I was thinking of I haven't seen Spotlight or Zodiac, but those got to be easy recs, I would imagine.
Yeah, so I was gonna say both of those, both Spotlight and Zodiac are really good comps. I think Spotlight in particular because it follows like a newsroom. It's just like, I suppose that they both do, but those are both tremendous movies. And yeah, I think that I think All the President's Men is probably like one of Aaron Sorkin's favorite movies.
Oh. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Like, just watching this movie, I'm like, I can see like so much of like what Aaron Sorkin went on to do with like The American President, Social Network, just his like frame of dialogue, the way he like The West Wing, that type of stuff.
Yeah,
it's like I can see some of it here, so there's probably some inspiration. He's probably big fan. But
yeah, for sure. I was looking at the director too because I'm like, I want to see more of his stuff. He did Sophie's Choice, which I have not seen.
Oh,
but I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
I'm gonna not watch Sophie's Choice. I believe that Meryl Streep is good in it.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's great, but it's just I don't. But yeah, I really like just kind of. It's kind of got me back in the mood to watch some of those. So like, yeah, I would recommend Spotlight and Zodiac for sure. If you want to watch a bad version of this movie, watch The Post.
I was gonna say, yeah. Is that take place after this?
Yeah, I think that's to do with I forget what the papers are called, but it's the Washington Post got papers in relation to the Cold War. So
gotcha.
This was past that, I think.
Yeah, cover-up spanning 4 U.S. presidents pushes the country's first female newspaper publisher and her editor to join an unprecedented battle between press and government. All right, that tells me nothing, Spielberg. What are we doing here? But yeah, apparently the movie's not very good.
It's basically 2.5 hours of Meryl Streep sitting around thinking pensively over whether she should release the papers or not. Panama Papers, is that right?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Like I said, I'm not a history guy.
I quite honestly fell asleep in that movie in the movie theater. That is the only time I've ever done that. Was at The Post.
Oh man.
So yeah, watch other newsroom type dramas for sure.
Yeah, I find it way more satisfying to watch investigative reporters as opposed to like detectives.
Yeah,
because it feels like they have less resources and it's more like, I don't know, honest. Like, I don't know, it's just like seeing them. Like, I love this movie, like the emphasis is put on like their editors being like, you don't got it. Like, you don't have, like, you think, I know you're passionate. You think like you're probably right, but we need the information, like the facts, and you got to get the confirmations. Like, that just adds so much to all of this.
And it was cool too, seeing like the parallels with the FBI investigation, where it's like, why don't you have
Yeah.
You get to just tell people, hey, you have to talk to us or you're going to jail.
Why are you interviewing them while there's a lawyer present?
Yeah, we have to knock at someone's door and ask them for coffee. You can literally barge in if you want. Why do you not already know all of this?
I did love the scene where they finally get someone to talk to, and she's just like a fan of them. Like they got the wrong person, and it's
wrong woman.
Man, but yeah, great movie. Go watch All the President's Men. Cannot recommend it enough.
Aged supremely well because it doesn't rely on effects or anything. It's just a lot of dialogue.
A lot of dialogue and a lot of just great acting and directing. Well, that is our review of that for this week. We're going to go into bonus reviews right now. We have a lot. All right, we had a little holiday break here, and for me, it means trying to catch up on stuff. But Perk, we can start with what we've both seen and what you just got back from, which is Poor Things. You're the Yorgos fan, so I'll go to you first. What did you think of Poor Things?
It's so freaking good, dude. It's like everything I wanted. I was just cheesing a smile the entire time. Like everything is just so Yorgos. It feels so fresh. I love. It's based on a book, but I love like original ideas in film. So it's an adaptation, but there's clearly a lot of liberty taken, and like Yorgos putting his own special spin on it. But I'm kind of obsessed with how good this movie was. Towards the end, I was like tallying off in my head all the awards I think it should win. Like Emma Stone, so good at acting. She's crazy good in this movie. The way that she kind of develops her character over like what are like periods of development in life is so good. And there are a lot of scenes and a lot of lines of dialogue that I think in worse hands would come off stupid or weird.
Yeah.
But they are just so hilarious because her delivery is perfect. And I think that's because she's worked with Yorgos Lanthimos on so many occasions, and he has a very particular style of how his actors were in like a monotone, in like a stoic type nature. And I think she just nails that. I think the best at that is Colin Farrell, but like that, I don't know. Colin Farrell was kind of designed for Lanthimos movies. But the like Emma Stone, just top to bottom, she embodies that character to a T. I love her character arc. Like it's so cool to see just so much of like how she's like learning to embrace herself as a woman and learning about the world is very cool to see. I think all of her friends she meets along the way are just super cool and really well played. Mark Ruffalo is just freaking hilarious. And the way his character turns out is just fun.
Gerard Carmichael, I thought was great.
Yeah, Gerard Carmichael was awesome. I don't remember what I remember him from, but he was really good in a pretty small role. Rami Youssef is fantastic.
Yep. Dafoe
Willem
is
Dafoe.
incredible.
You couldn't have cast it better. It's just such a Willem character. And they're I won't spoil because I think everyone should go see it, but like very rarely in a Yorgos Lanthimos movie do you get an ending where you can like almost like root and holler at the end, whereas I mean, like you've seen The Lobster.
Yeah, it's not that's a happy ending. It's
does
more like,
not have a happy ending.
I guess that makes sense for what this movie is.
Killing of a Sacred Deer, ultra bleak. The Favorite, I don't really remember a lot about that movie. It didn't really sit with me perfectly, but it's not a very hopeful ending in that one either. But he didn't write the screenplay for this, and maybe that's part of it because the story near the end of the story it kind of goes in a direction which you'll know what I'm talking about, where I'm like, oh, I know this is where Yorgos comes in and ends the movie, right? It's like, oh, well, all right, because I was expecting this, but instead we got hooray,
If it would have had a sad or I don't know, just a bad ending, I would have been pretty upset.
Yeah.
But I know I also really like this movie. I just want to say because ever since I saw this, I've not stopped thinking about it. This movie is actually very similar to Barbie. If you just think of like the general
It
like
kind of is,
plot.
isn't it?
Like
Yeah.
it's actually like weirdly similar to Barbie, which is funny that they both came out the same year. Like this is like the rated R European version of Barbie, if that makes sense, you know.
This is like Barbie if the politics weren't skin deep.
Yeah.
Like if the feminism's actually like a little more meaty.
Yeah, and I mean I really liked it. I think like you're saying, like it just continually surprised me with just kind of the depth of all the characters, like not just Emma Stone. Like I expected her to be like incredible, and like the journey she goes on is like was amazing. But like Willem Dafoe's character, who like kind of starts as like a cartoon character, has some actual like depth and tragedy to him that they like don't let you forget about, which I like really appreciated.
And they also play for like dark laughs, which is really great.
Well, that's something. This movie is funny as hell. Like
it is.
I like laughed at The Lobster at times, but it's also like I don't love like dark humor. This movie is funny as hell, man. Like I was laughing a ton. And a lot of it, like you said, is just the delivery of like Ruffalo's delivery and Emma Stone's delivery is just incredible. Even Rami Youssef, like there's a line where Willem Dafoe's like, well, and I did the obvious thing. And Rami's like, what? Like that was the obvious thing. Like, yeah, stuff like that was really great. But yeah, I mean, Emma Stone, if she doesn't win Best Actress, I mean, what are we doing? Like, she played essentially like 5 different characters in this movie, with a like progression between all of them, and yeah, just seeing all that is so good, and like, just I don't know, it just speaks to, I think, kind of the at times like the existentialism of like the world today, especially in like the middle, the boat section, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just a great movie, and I was happy that I liked it more than I maybe thought I would. I was worried it'd be too weird for me. And there's some weird shit in this movie. Like,
oh yeah,
there's some really fucking weird shit in this movie. But like, it all makes sense. Like, it's all intentional.
It's not a go see this one with the family.
Yeah.
Type beat for sure.
Well, yeah, but it's not like it's not really gratuitous. Like everything it makes sense and serves the story.
It's interesting how like because there's a significant amount of nudity, but it's almost like the kind of shock value of it kind of wears off, and it's more functional.
Yeah,
than like
it speaks to her growth as a character.
Yeah, it doesn't feel exploitative, although that's not my place to say. But
maybe some of like the surgery is like a bit gross. I mean, like it's not too bad.
Yeah,
but like I said, overall, like pretty much everything like serves the plot. So like I wasn't like upset about it.
And we haven't really mentioned, but the like the set design and the cinematography and like the all the use of the fisheye. This really is just like, hey, what if we get one of the most interesting directors working right now and just give him a lot of money?
Yeah.
And yeah, we just get like I want to go to all of these places. Like Barbie Land is a masterpiece, and I'm sure it'll win set design, it'll win costuming, all that. But this is like kind of the same. It's like you want to go to weird steampunk floating island Portugal? Yeah, I do. It looks awesome.
Yeah, the production design and the costumes were just immaculate. So well done. And I also loved before every like act essentially, or every like section before there's like a new location, there's like this title card.
Yeah, the title cards were
gorgeous,
so cool.
Dude. They were so fucking cool. Made. I just want those. Like this movie was great. I just want those, man, because those were just amazing. So yeah, this is a great movie.
The like most of the crowd stayed for the whole end credits, just because it's all like still shots of weird stuff. It's just cool to see.
Yeah.
Oh, and on the humor aspect, I agree with you. I thought this movie was hilarious in a lot of like clever and dark ways. But there's a weird thing that like Yorgos Lanthimos movies have, where we watched it. The theater was sparsely full, and everyone kind of has like a bit of a louder laugh at different parts. Yeah. Because not all of it resonates with everyone, but like every like thing that's in there humorously resonated with somebody.
I will say to that point when I went and saw it, there was like a older couple a few like ahead of me, and there's a point early in the movie where Rami Youssef calls her the R word. And they laughed a little bit too hard at that one. And I was like, all right. You know, but it's just funny. Yeah, like you said, like everyone's kind of laughing at different things.
Right. And funnily enough, now this could just be a matter of like coincidence, but there was one person who left. And it just happened to be the first time that there's an intimate scene between not strictly a man and a woman. There's exactly one intimate scene between two women, and someone left during that scene. And I was like,
that's my limit.
This is your line after some of the stuff we've been seeing.
Oh man,
so funny.
But yeah, definitely don't sleep on this one. Like, even if it looks like too weird for you, it's very doable. Like,
give it a try,
and it's funny. Like, not even all the humor is dark humor. Like, I was just looking, like, Willem Dafoe's character is Godwin, and she calls him God, and like that's just a funny little thing. But also, like, again, it plays into the plot. Like, anyway, great fucking movie.
I can't recommend it enough. I think everyone should like give it a try, and you can leave too if you're uncomfortable with women being intimate
or just having like agency.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go to another new release perk. I'm gonna talk about The Boys in the Boat.
Okay.
So you read the book?
No, I did not.
Well, I thought you did because you were rowing.
I actually had two separate people buy me that book, and I never read it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Don't watch the movie. So I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd, and I just want to read, if you'll allow me, Perk. Yeah. I want to read a review that I saw that just made me laugh, but also like is very accurate. Okay. So this is from Robert Daniels on Letterboxd. 1 star. All right. Here's what he says. This is one of the few films where I seriously question whether a money laundering scheme is happening. No sense of history, little emotion, period detail that never rises above a bad diorama, milquetoast casting, underdeveloped women characters, and uncomfortably white. I point at the latter only because there's a moment where George Clooney feels so self-conscious about having an exclusively white cast that there's a zoom in on a black woman extra who's playing a spectator that's so hard I could hear the desperate cry of well-meaning whitedom. Which
Jesus.
I also caught that. I'm like, we cut to that black spectator for a little bit too long. Like, you can tell they're like, this movie's like really white. We need to show there's black people around. Like, but anyway, this movie is just like so fucking boring and generic. It's the most like sports movie of all time, and it just has nothing interesting to say or do, which is unfortunate because I don't think the material is devoid of anything interesting. I think this could have been really interesting if you had this place. So just again, brief on the story. During the Depression, this is Washington. I forget which university in Washington area. Very poor, and you have a lot of men in college joining the rowing team just to get money for food. And they end up like doing really well and winning the gold Olympics at Berlin in Nazi Germany. And there's a lot of stuff to dig into it, like the Depression, like how desperate they were, how hard times were. Don't touch it at all. Like the main character is like having a kind of hard time at the beginning, then he gets on the team and everything's fine. Also, I swear to God, his undershirt, he's wearing like a quarter zip from LL Bean. I'm like, that's not a fucking, you're not poor, all right? If you're rocking that. You could dig into, I don't know, what, there's 8 or 9 people on a boat. We see one. We learn about one. I couldn't tell you half these guys. I'm pretty sure half of them don't have speaking lines in the movie. Like,
oh dear.
Like, what? It's not the boys in the boat. It's the one boy in the boat that barely has a personality, and they invent conflict for him in the middle of the movie to add tension. And then the whole fact that they're going to Nazi Germany for the Olympics, and they barely touch on that. It's like George Clooney just had nothing interesting to say. He's like, all right, well, this book was popular. Let's make it a movie and make it the most generic, bland thing possible. And it's just really like unfortunate. Like, I do not recommend this movie. Like, do not give this movie money. It doesn't deserve it. Read the book.
Would you? Okay, so I'm trying to make a comparison to like a movie I've talked about. We talked about. Is it kind of like? Would you say it's similar to how Hidden Figures is an incredibly important story that it felt like needed a little more depth?
I mean, I think Hidden Figures is miles better than this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like Hidden Figures actually has characters that are interesting.
Right, definitely. I'm just saying, like, I felt like they could have. I mean, Hidden Figures is, I'm sure, built based on a book. Like, I feel like it would have been better in book form because you could have gone
probably, but
a lot deeper.
I think people would watch Hidden Figures and they might look for more information. They'd be like, oh, I want to learn more about this people.
That's a good point, because I definitely did that.
I don't think they would have. It's like, oh yeah, those are boys in the boat and they won the Olympics. Good for them. But like,
yeah,
you don't learn. I don't know anything about rowing after this movie. I don't know anything about the boys on the team. I don't know anything about the depression. I don't know anything about Nazi Germany. Like, they're just like, yeah, it's a sports movie. They, you know, there's a rise and there's a fall. There's a rise and a fall, and then they win. It's like, it's just so bland. Like, it's really disappointing.
Is it directed by George Clooney?
Yeah, it's directed by Clooney.
Okay.
And he did not, like, he just did the most, like, it felt like just getting a paycheck, you know. Like, I did not feel like any, like, real care was put in.
Yeah, let's go with a safe IP and a formula and just make a movie out of it. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the most egregious thing, like I said, is I swear to God, like, half the main people that are on this team do not have speaking lines in this movie, which is like just nuts. It is absolutely nuts. So yeah, cannot recommend The Boys in the Boat. Yeah,
that's too bad to hear. I figured that would be like just kind of a mid type.
Yeah, it's like it's like easy, and like I watched my family and they thought it was fine. But it could have. I think a reason why I'm so mad is because it could have been better. Like, there was substance there, and they just chose not to dig into any of it.
Gotcha.
So that is that. I'll be do one more perk.
Yeah, why don't you stay rolling?
I'll throw back to you.
A little lighter. Okay.
I'll throw back to the other like big release, which is the Iron Claw. So this is the new film about a true story of the Von Erich family. They were around when professional wrestling was getting its start. And it's like 3-4 brothers whose dad was big into it, and then they're coming up and joining it as well, turn to wrestle. Have you heard anything of this movie about, like, do you know anything about the story?
I do.
Okay. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody listening, but I knew it was going to be sad, and it's really fucking sad. Like, this is such a tragic story, and like, if you watch the movie and then look up what actually happened, the real story is worse.
It's actually sadder.
It's actually sadder. Like, it is insane. I think Zac Efron did a great job. Like, he's the central character. He kind of has to carry the movie, and I think he did great. I think the supporting cast is also very good, and I think like the wrestling is shot well. This is one of those where I've talked about before, and maybe it's hypocritical because I just reamed into Boys in the Boat, but like, it's hard to like criticize true stories sometimes. Like films about true stories, because just like, I don't know, I don't want to. I don't want to like be mean to the film because it's like such a sad story. I don't have any like major issues with it. I think like it's shot well and like this tells the story well. But at the end of the day, I think they did a really good job conveying the family dynamics and just showing the tragedy of this family. And I would recommend it. I would just say like be prepared to be sad. Like, don't go in expecting like a fun wrestling sports movie. Like, this is not a happy tale. I think like the final like couple scenes are like real like gut punches, and I think are done very well. So yeah, that's the Iron Claw.
I often talk about during Oscar season how there are a bunch of movies that I'm not excited to go watch because I just know they're going to be miserable.
Yeah,
this is not one of them. I'm so excited to go see this movie. It's like, because I think Zac Efron is a fantastic actor.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
We know that what's his face? Help me out.
Jeremy Allen White.
Jeremy Allen White. We know he's a great actor.
Yeah.
I've seen Harris Dickinson be really good as well. So I'm like very excited to go see this. I'm gonna try and do it ASAP, but I'm unfortunately it won't appear in like my year-end lists because that's I don't like the way that they do the Oscar calendar. I wish they just cut everything off like end of the year.
Yeah.
But, there'll still be movies that are nominated that don't even come out till February, and so it goes. But yeah, all that aside, really looking forward to seeing Iron Claw.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about it to see if you have any, what you liked, and if you have any critiques of it. So yeah, there's stuff to nitpick there. I don't know. It's just like, at the end of the day, it was emotionally effective, which is what it was trying to do, and the acting is great. So, yeah, I want to throw it back to you, Perk. What else did you watch during the break?
I watched a smattering of Christmas movies, and I'll be brief because everyone's seen all the Christmas movies. I watched Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the Rankin and Bass claymation, a classic. It's really good. The music in it actually slaps. I don't like musicals, but this one is passable, especially the scene where Miss Jessica like has her like coming out scene as a woman, and it's like super trippy and like almost like LSD, because this was made in like what, 1970, so this is like prime hippie time. And Miss Jessica's a babe, of course. That movie's just good. Nice story. They have a lot of clever, explanations for all the Santa stuff. I dig it. I don't watch that one all the time, so I'm like not sick of it. A movie I do watch every year that I am sick of is Christmas Story, which is not bad, but it's like every single year I've been alive, we've watched A Christmas Story on Christmas, and it's just it's that song that you liked that just got overplayed into oblivion, and now you don't want to watch it anymore or listen to it anymore. That's A Christmas Story for me. It's like, it's not a bad movie by any stretch, but it doesn't really have a plot, and it's kind of long when you have to watch it with commercials on TBS. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. I'll follow that up with one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. The Princess Switch, which I've talked about on this pod before. I freaking love that movie. It's not necessarily all like Hallmark type Christmas movies, but I love like a certain brand of them where it's like they know it's not going to be good and they just came to have fun. Like Vanessa Hudgens playing two different versions of Vanessa Hudgens. It's just, and it's a baking competition in whatever Moldova or made up country. It's goofy fun. It's great to watch with a stiff drink and just laugh. And it's whatever. It's cute and it's fun and it's family friendly. I don't know. I dig it. And they've made 3 Princess Switches, and I freaking love them all. Because in the second one, there's a third Vanessa Hudgens, and she's the evil one, and so she wears black leather.
Of course.
And then in the third Princess Switch, the evil Vanessa Hudgens gets a redemption arc. So it's all fun. And I just those movies are so fun. I watched it with my mom, and she's like, "I can't believe you like this." And I'm like, "I love this. This is perfect for me."
I'm sure I asked you this last year, but can you rank them for me, please?
I mean, 1 I love. 2 has better meme value, I think, but I think 1 is a better movie, and I don't even remember that much about 3, honestly.
All right, so they kind of get worse as they go along.
Well, they kind of do that thing in 3 where, that's always how things go. But, they do that thing that they did in Pitch Perfect 3, where all of a sudden it's a spy movie.
Like in Cars 2. Remember that?
Yeah, where they become
Why
spies in Europe.
I
don't know, in movies that don't need it.
Yeah.
But I will say that through the spy subplot in Princess Switch 3, which that's where the redemption arc is for the evil Vanessa Hudgens. She also has like her old partner from the past, who's of course a hot babe, and so they end up together, I think. But it's so goofy and fun. Like, watch it with friends, watch it with booze. I don't think it has to be for Christmas, but it definitely hits harder in the winter.
Sure.
I hope they make a 4th one someday.
With 4 Vanessa Hudgenses. Yeah,
with all the Vanessa Hudgenses. And then I'll close out by talking about an actual good movie.
Okay.
For the first time this Christmas, I watched It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh wow!
Which, yeah.
A
lot of people will say is like their favorite Christmas movie of all time,
or just the greatest movie of all time.
There are people that will tell you it's the greatest movie of all time,
and
I won't argue with that. I think the movie is absolutely fantastic. It's got a main character that has a lot of depth, and you follow him, and he goes on a full arc. Really commits. His wife is an actual character, which is cool, and her story is interesting too. Just the way that the actual plot unfolds is very interesting and very enthralling. Like the whole time, it's like he's gonna get out of town, and he never does, and things just keep going. And the evil bad guy who's just there to be evil is good. And I think the plot contrivance is a little tough when just accidentally gives away $8,000, but whatever. It's good enough. The angel Clarence is charming. He's good. Like overall, it is such a good movie. Like I'm not used to Christmas movies being good. They're all just kind of shitty.
Yeah.
And then like this is like just unironically a fantastic movie. Like set aside the Christmas premise, and yeah, I'm so glad I finally watched it. What a fantastic, like, couple tears rolling at the end too. It's just it took me too long to watch this, but it's kind of in the spirit of where we're headed next. So I'm really, really glad I checked it out because, I didn't give it perfect marks because there are a few. This is made in the 40s, mind you. There are some like really glaring editing problems.
Sure.
That's gonna happen with older stuff, but it's aside from that, it's just so good.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible movie, and we didn't watch it this year, but I think it's my dad's favorite. Either his favorite movie or favorite Christmas movie, but absolutely incredible film. I'm glad you finally got to see it.
I don't know why it took this long, but here we are.
Well, I'll wrap things up here with a few more. So to be clear, I watched Poor Things in the morning and then Iron Claw on the same day. And then I got home. Like, I just need something easy, something I've seen before. Someone's going to make me happy. I open up Netflix. What I see, Perk, right at the top, Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
Dude, this movie kicks ass. All right.
It's a really good movie.
It's so fucking good. And I know there's nostalgia glasses, but also this movie just is really fucking good.
Speaking of prime Dustin Hoffman.
Exactly. Also, do you know his character is a red panda? I didn't realize his animal was a red panda, which is just kind of funny.
No, I suppose I just assumed like squirrel or something.
Or like a chihuahua or something. I don't know.
Yeah, raccoon.
But like I've seen this movie so many times. I watched this movie like on repeat when I was growing up. So like I just remember like how like the line delivery. Like I just got this movie like on lock. But I caught so many more like little small mannerisms like this time. Like this little animation they didn't have to. They just add a ton to people's characterization. And just like some of the line delivery by Jack Black and other characters is just fucking hilarious. Like they don't make them like this anymore. Like I don't know what it is, but like there's so much love and like care was put into this film, and it just slaps, man. Like Kung Fu Panda is a classic, and I will not take any arguments against that.
No, I agree. I think that movie's fantastic.
It's so good. I also finished up a couple anime. So I mentioned it both before when they started, but there was one called Zom 100 that I talked about a long time ago. And the reason I talked about a long time ago is because it went on hiatus forever. Like it started like, I don't even remember, like in the summer, I think. It was only supposed to be 13 episodes, and they got through 10, and they're like, we don't got it. And they finally released the last 3 on Christmas. So it's like, I don't know what was going on there production-wise, but very good show. I'll just recap briefly. It's about zombie apocalypse where main character was working at like a super abusive like office job, and the zombie apocalypse happens, and he's like, yeah, I can finally be happy because I don't have to go to work anymore. Ends up being like a very hopeful, like fun show about him like doing his kind of bucket list in the zombie apocalypse. And I think it ended well. Like I maybe this was the whole show, or maybe just like the ending. There's some like just immature humor that is like, what are we doing? Like this is kind of taken away from just the tone. Like like in Demon Slayer, some of like Zenitsu's bits. It's just like, all right, this is a bit childish, like we don't need this. There's some of like that kind of stuff, but overall, just really, really great show, great animation and art. I like the themes a lot, so that was great. And then Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 just ended, and if you're in the anime community, this was the rough one. This season just fucking tragedy after character death after character death. Like it was just brutal. And finally got through it, and I actually, after watching this, got completely caught up on the manga because I'm like, I see what happens now because like all my favorite characters died. So it's like, where is the show going? And yeah, like it's hard to say like it's good because it's just like so like brutal to watch, but the animators absolutely popped the fuck off this season. So shout out to them for that. But last thing I watched, Perk, trying to knock off my 2023 to-do list for movies. I finally watched Nimona. This is the Netflix animated film that came out, I don't remember when this year, maybe like in the summer. featuring Chloe Grace Moretz as the main character, as well as Riz Ahmed. About the setting is like a medieval, like knights and stuff meets like Blade Runner, like modern day technology or like futurist technology. It's a very cool setting, and Riz Ahmed is a knight who gets like framed for killing the queen, and because he's a commoner, he gets vilified. And Nimona finds him, and she's a shape-shifting creature slash girl. They kind of are trying to clear his name. I think I understand like Disney was gonna make this movie, but they ended up passing on it, and then Netflix picked it up. And I think it's very clear why, because this movie has a ton of like queer representation and like trans representation, and Disney, I'm sure, was like,
Disney's not about that.
We're
Yeah.
good. But I think it was great. Like, this is a really, really good animated like kids movie. Like I think it has really good representation. It's done well. Similar to Zom 100, there's just, I know it's a kids movie, but some of the humor is just like so just brain dead, like for kids humor, you know? And it's just like, we can do better than this. Like, is it, what's his name? From SNL, Ben, it's not Ben Beckman, is it? Ben Beckett?
Beck Bennett.
Beck Bennett, thank you. Beck Bennett plays like this, just like mean jock stereotype character that just has like the dumbest lines and dumbest jokes. And it's just like, we can, guys, please, we please do better than this. So that knocks it a little bit for me, even though like I know it's a kids movie. I've also like had this thing recently. It's not every movie, but like often recently when I see a movie that like has like themes or like politics that like I agree with, I'm just like, yeah, like I just don't get as like invested in emotionally. Like I don't get as emotionally attached because like, yeah, I already agree with like kind of what he's trying to do. It's not like surprising me necessarily, even though it's like really good representation. Because I know like a lot of people, it's like one of their favorite movies of the year or favorite anime movies of the year. And like, I really liked it. And it was great and a fun time. But it just didn't like hit me as hard as I'm sure it hit other people.
Sure.
But I think it's 3D animation. I think it looks fantastic. And, you know, not to throw shade at Blue Eyed Samurai again, because I still haven't gotten back to finishing that show, but it's like, there is a, like 3D animation is not automatically bad, but it can be rough. And I think this movie did a really good job with 3D animation. So,
Nice.
yeah, check out Nimona if you want a fun, like animated / kids movie with a good message and cool action. All right. Did we do it, Perk? Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
All right.
I think we won.
We did it.
Hooray.
So that wraps up episode 90 of the podcast. And next week, we're going to do a little fun episode we did last year as well, where we're going to talk about our top movies from last year. Our top movies watching the podcast, as well as our top movies just from the year in general, and just give it kind of our list and break that down. So that should be fun. And then after that, we'll start on a new string. I'm not going to reveal yet we're watching, because yet I haven't watched next week's episode. But yeah, look forward to next week doing our top movies of 2023. But until then, thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.